Hey, I'm Shelly,
And I'm Angela,
and this is Real Talk Dating Exposed.
where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of dating in your 40s.
If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and like us below.
And if you're listening to us on audio, please subscribe as well.
Now let's get into it.
Okay, so dating apps. You're scrolling, you're swiping. There are things that people see, and we often hear from men, right? Like all of their pet peeves on the dating apps. But today we're going to be talking about the do's and the don'ts of dating apps.
And your profiles, right? I think
All of it.
all across the board.
Yeah, the profile, the bio, the pictures, the etiquette, all
the
of
things.
it.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's start with the photos, right? I feel like there's guys that could potentially be great catches, but they're not showing up their best selves on the apps. I feel like we don't want to see your sunglasses, right? Like we don't
No.
want filters.
No.
We want a clear-cut picture, at least the first one we're seeing. Like, show us in your best
Yeah,
light.
who are you?
Like, who are you?
We want to see your face.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, as much as we want to say it's not superficial, it is. Like, attraction is important, right? So as we're swiping, it's, okay, is this person attractive or not? And if it's a not, then it's an automatic no. So, like, you literally have 3 seconds to capture someone's attention, fortunately. And you better, like, put your best foot forward. I think one of the pictures you sent me, the man was in, like, a dress. Like a Snow White dress.
Yes, and I get you have personality, right? But like that is not going to make
no.
me swipe right.
It made you stop. But like,
I mean, it
not,
makes me screenshot and send it to you.
Yeah.
That's what that does.
Yeah. So pictures, like, again, we want to be able to see your face. And I think this goes, we hear from men all the time that they're like, we don't want to see the filters. We want, the person shows up and they look totally different. So,
I mean,
it goes on both sides.
I feel like it does,
Yeah.
right? Like men filter too. Or the AI, and I know we've talked about this before, like it looks cool, right? Like you're in Spain in a suit. Like, no, like that's obviously not you. Like, what? You know? And then I'm like, what are we doing?
But like, yeah, why do you need to use an AI?
For your
For your
photo. I
photo.
find that so
Yeah,
weird.
it's really weird.
I don't love that. Do you want to see kids, friends?
Not really. I don't want to necessarily, I mean, I guess I could go both ways on this, right? But I don't want it to be a situation where like I'm trying to figure out in a friend picture, like which one is which.
Yeah.
It needs to be very apparent. Like maybe one friend photo.
For sure.
Dogs.
Dogs?
I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. What if there's only 1 or 2 photos? This fucking aggravates me. Because I feel like
you need more of a sample size.
I see potential, but then I'm like, you want to see them in different.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I want to see multiple photos. So like when you're just posting 1 or 2, then I don't love that.
I mean, when I was on the apps, there was this weird thing too, where like guys would take pictures of themselves sleeping. Do you remember? I would screenshot
like
what? They'd be in bed and like sleeping and then snap the picture. I'm like, what are you
happening?
doing?
And why are your eyes closed?
Yeah.
No.
It's just so weird. So pictures, when you think about putting your pictures on there, have it be you in life. Like if you like to hike, maybe it's you on the mountain. If you like to paddleboard, maybe it's you on the, right? Like take the opportunity to not only highlight yourself, but show your interest, because I think that that's going to help create connection more in the long run, right? Like if you were to see someone that's hiking, you'd be like, oh, this person likes to hike. I like to hike.
For sure.
You know?
Or even with their dogs, because I love dogs, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's give us enough, but like just make it real. Like just be you. I mean, don't filter them and like smile. And we don't want just like hats and sunglasses in everyone either, because then I'm like, I feel like they're disguising. Yeah. Like
I also feel like, we want to see teeth.
Yeah.
Smile with your teeth. I feel like there were times where like all the pictures would be like, no teeth smiles.
Or the same like meme
and then
mug.
you're like, well, what do your teeth look like?
Or no kissy faces either, dudes. Like honestly,
you get
every single one. I swear, I can't remember.
Yeah,
cannot recall, but it was 6 photos of like kissy face on a dude, and I'm like, we are not. No, this is a no.
Okay, moving on from the pictures, let's talk about the bio. I feel like we hear this a lot from the men, where they're like, all these women are listing out all the things they don't want.
I feel like men do it too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So like we don't want to see in the bio like
I don't want to see, and actually ironically, I texted Angela yesterday and I was like, you know what? I haven't been on the apps, but for the goodness of our podcast, I'm going to go swipe right now and point out the things that I'm like are an ick factor, right? And I think when a guy's like, swipe left if, like, you don't want kids or you don't, you're not.
You drink alcohol or
Yes.
you're not a Christian or.
Oh, yeah, that was another one. Like,
Yeah.
And I get there's things people feel strongly about, but I feel like if you're listing out all the things you don't want, like then you're boxing someone before you even give them a chance. I mean, I don't think that's necessary until you have a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Is there any hard? I mean, and I also think, in the beginning parts, and I think every app's the same way where you can put information about you, like put the information, meaning like, do you have kids?
Yeah.
Do you smoke? Do you drink? Like, put your occupation. I mean, I get you don't want to be pre-categorized before having a conversation. So I think that's why a lot of people stay elusive. But then I'm also like, the more you can kind of put out there in that sense, like who you are, I'm not mad. Like, are you spiritual? Are you religious? I think that's fine. But then the minute you start writing in your bio when you're supposed to be giving us insight into who you are, but all you're spewing out is what you don't want on the other side, then how are we learning anything about you?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
No, I agree. And I'm trying to like put into words what that does. I think it just comes across as just very
aggressive.
Well, and also like, what are you going to do for me? Because I don't have anything to list that I'm going to do for you. Right. And I think that relationships, it's coming of two people, right? Where it's like, okay, here's what I bring, here's what you bring, let's bring it together. And so if you're taking that opportunity to not list out all the good qualities that you have or the things that you love,
then what are you doing?
Yeah, it's just more or less like
one-sided.
Yeah, I hate that.
And then it's like, we're not learning about you, but oh, cool, I'm already like,
yeah, let me check your boxes.
Let me check your
doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, 100%.
I'd rather, and I love a guy that literally says out loud, like, this is who I am. Like, give me a sentence or two about like hardworking family guy that loves to travel and whatever, and like looking for a serious relationship.
Yeah.
Or even if it's like looking for a threesome. Well, you know what? If you're being honest about it, at least you're putting it out there, and then we're not guessing. So,
and if you have a hard time, use GPT. Like,
Chat-
throw it in there. Like, I'm a single man, 32 years old, have a dog, don't want kids. Well, like, create a dating profile, and it'll spew a nice little pretty one out for you.
It's better than, yes, I'd say either not having anything or just putting all the things you don't want in someone else.
Yeah, and I think by using ChatGPT, you avoid grammatical errors, because that's another thing.
Goodness
I think
gracious.
if you have an 80 character paragraph and you are spelling something incorrectly, that's an automatic no.
I feel like I have a hard time with grammatical errors. I mean, not just the spelling, but like they're, those. Yeah. You have what, 150 characters to put in your, and if you're not in your 40s spelling it correctly, or at least like if you spelled it wrong, then you don't go back and look over it. Like, I'm just like, I feel like that is a huge hard pass for me.
Because it shows maybe lack of
care in any, like, how serious are you if you're not even taking the time to, we all do that once in a while, but like, you have one profile you're putting out there, like, get your spelling correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And on top of that, beyond that, and there has been a conversation recently with someone where I'm like, there's potential there, but then our dialogue was just grammatical at like 42 years old and really not spelling correctly. I can't, like, I just don't know if I can get past that. Like, super nice guy, but I'm also like, spell check it first, or like, why are we not, they're not difficult words to like push out to get right.
Give me an example of a word.
I mean,
can you remember?
Literally like believe, but it was like spelled wrong.
BLEIVE.
Yeah, like BLEIVE, whatever. But part of me is like, are you just rushing because you're trying to get your thought out? But like, and I sound very like, I mean, that sounds superficial, but I also feel like, no, we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't love that.
I agree.
What do you feel about adding your social media handles to your profiles? So that way people can go
Yeah. So when I was on the apps and I would see that someone had their social media profile, I felt like they were only on the apps to like grow their social media following.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
But then there were some that I was like, oh, okay, he genuinely is just including this. They have like 300, 400 followers, and like it gives you a glimpse into it. So I guess there is a benefit to seeing that, but you really have to be careful what the intention is.
Well, and I've also seen guys be like, here's my handle, message me there. I'm never on here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude,
yeah, I
what?
don't like that.
Now you just want people to go to your Insta. I will say I use it because you can do way more investigative work because we know I love to do that.
Yeah.
So when people do put theirs up there, I'm like looking at like who they're friends with, who's tagged them in things, what their reels are. Like it goes beyond that.
Who are they following?
Who are they following? I mean, listen.
Is this before you match with them?
I mean, no, I match and
then you'll go investigate.
I mean, that's a lie. I do a little investigating before, but there was one recent, like we matched and then I was like, well, let me go delve deeper now. Cause I want to see like who's tagging him in things. What's scrolling back? What were you doing in 2020? I mean, call me crazy, but like it gives you way more insight than the app itself. So I feel like you have a way better chance of like getting a vibe for who they are. And I feel like that's what we're trying to do, right?
Yeah. So I don't hate it. I just think if you're on the side of looking at people's socials, like those are some things to look for, right? Like, is this their main reason to boost their Instagram? Which, by the way, do you have our podcast on your app?
I know. So I feel like I've been vacillating between like, do I add our pod?
I think
we need to know, should I add our pod to my dating apps?
I feel like it might be a deterrent for some men, though.
I do feel like, I mean, I've already heard it's been a deterrent to some men. And then I find like, what? Like, I can be honest about why we created it. There's nothing wrong with what we're talking about. It's all, I think they get nervous they're going to end up on it. But I'm like, if you treat me 90% right, like you're fucking fine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So all of that, we get through all of that, pictures, bio, looked at their social. If it's on there, you're matching. What do we want that conversation to look like? How long are we having this conversation before you take it off the app? What questions do you want to see? I mean, all of that.
I feel like when we match, obviously, like say Bumble, for instance, I have to initiate the conversation, which I'm not mad at Bumble for that reason, right? Because it puts women in control of the initial interaction. I get things happen. People don't always have their notifications on for Bumble. Whenever, if and when they see that we've matched, like I would like typically a prompt response within 24 hours, or I feel like, what are you doing? Are you really serious about dating? Because you're not even looking at your app. And then I like, it's okay if it starts with like, hey, how's your day? Oh, good. How was yours? But like, let's go deeper. And like, I don't love to have to be the one to initiate the deeper convo, but I go there quickly if they don't, because I feel like, what is this small talk that we're doing? And like, how long is this going to last? Like, I don't care what you ate for lunch. I don't, I want to hear like, what are your intentions? Like, hey, what are you looking for on here is typically what I'll ask. I really appreciate it when a guy, I don't have to ask him, they're asking me that, right? Like, what are you looking for? Okay, great. And honestly, I'd say within the first 2 days, day or two of talking, it should be either like, can we take this offline? Because you don't always like to, and I'm not mad at that. I know some people don't want to give their numbers out. Our numbers are all over the internet, So let's take it offline, or like, let's plan something. Like, I want action. I don't want a pen pal. I don't want to be just talking about your day for the next 7 days. You know what I mean? Even if the conversation gets deeper, I still want to like, a face-to-face isn't going to trump any conversation.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now, do you find yourself getting a little frustrated? And I think that this is like a PSA to both men and women. But when you match with someone and you start having a conversation, do your fucking homework and look at their bio. And don't ask where are you from if it fucking says it in there.
Oh my, this is probably my biggest peeve.
Like, just be like, okay, I matched with this person. And we get it. Like, you probably did a situation where like you're swiping. Maybe you forgot why you swiped on that person. But like, before you send that message, like,
what do you do?
Do a little recap.
Angela,
right?
What do you do? Meanwhile, it's like
real estate, Yeah. Yeah. So that just feels, the apps are already impersonal. So like, I think the theme here is doing everything you can to show personality and be a human behind there. And again, just do a little quick refresh. Like, oh, I matched with Shelly because she lives in Mesa. She doesn't have kids. I don't want kids. Like,
she has a dog.
She has a dog. I love dogs. Like, tell me about Luna.
Yeah. Not like, wait, where do you live? That's the best. Where do you live? It's like the first thing on the bio.
Don't you just want to be like, why don't you go back to my profile and then you tell me
where I live? Yeah.
And so I think that that's like super frustrating. Again, to your point, how's your day? I mean, it's just so boring. Again, try to think of different things you can do to like insert. Like, oh, I see you like to hike. When's the last time you hiked? Where's your favorite place to hike?
Yeah.
All of these things
Would you
that
like
can be
to
engaging.
grab a coffee?
Yeah. Or
right?
that.
Yeah. How do you feel about, and I know you've experienced this when you were on the apps. We know you're not on them in this moment, but looking at someone that says they're 41 when you are like, you are blatantly off by a fucking decade.
I mean, you call them out.
Yeah, but honestly, like, would you
I don't
match
even
with
think. No, I
someone
was
where
gonna
I'm
say that's a situation where like you don't even match. It's just like, okay, you can't even be honest.
I feel like it's so prevalent.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you are not that age. Like, I'm not mad, but like you are putting yourself younger. Or the best is when they obviously aren't, but then put in their bio, the app screwed this up. I'm actually 51. No.
I mean, to be fair, like from 40 to 49 to 50 to 55, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
In age, lifestyle, all of that.
Yeah.
So I get it if you're a young 51-year-old and you're trying to appeal to like the young 40-year-olds, but like you're already not starting off being honest.
So then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right?
I just hate that so much.
Yeah. I just don't. Yeah. I think when you're starting off on a foot that's feeling like, or not their real name, which has happened also.
Yeah.
I've witnessed people I know on the apps where I'm like, that is not your real name. That's not your name. So I don't know if they're trying to hide it for work or whatever, but then I'm like, you're already started. How would you move forward with someone, match with them, be like, we're going to go on a date. Oh, by the way,
my name's not John.
My name's Bob. It's not Johnny. Like, what? That would lead me initially to be like, you're a fucking walking red flag, because why do you feel the need to lie before we even step? I don't know.
Yeah,
I can get defensive, but you know, my guard's always up and feelers are out, because like shit like that goes on and you're like, why?
Yeah.
I don't see why.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
No, yeah, I hate that. Another thing that I would see, and I know you experience, is like you match with someone, maybe you talked for a little bit, and then you got off the apps or they got off the apps, and then they rematch with you. Sometimes after like they have your phone number, they're following you on socials, and then they rematch with you on the apps. Like, did they forget? Is this like they're dipping the toe in the water, like passive aggressive? Like, just don't do that. Don't do that.
That is
We've already been there, done that. We don't need to.
This is how I feel. I agree. The thing, and this just happened, I told you, where I'm like, oh, 4 years ago, went out with Johnny. That's not his name, but like, he's rematching with me now. Number one, we're friends on socials. You have my number. If there was something you wanted to readdress,
text me.
After we didn't work out the first time, no beef, like no hard feelings.
Yeah.
What? So you go to Bumble to try to match with me when there's 70 more efficient ways to get my attention. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, what is that? Like, are you dipping your toe? Yeah. Like, are you pulse checking to be like, oh, maybe if she matches, then she's showing interest again? But I feel like, dude, if you wanted to know, just fucking text me.
Like, hey, I saw you on the apps. Like, are you back in? Like, would you be interested in going to grab a drink?
Yeah. Like, I know it's been a while. Do you want to grab another drink?
Yeah.
That will go way further with me. Then let's rematch on the apps. Like, what? We did this already. Like, we're way past this point. We've hung out. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh, my goodness.
So one more thing, and then I think we'll wrap it up, is when we're asked the question and we take time to respond appropriately, and then you get a response back with like, cool, or thanks, or whatever the response is, one word response.
Why do we hate that?
Because I think, again, the theme of this is, how do you become a human and have a connection over an app? And if you're taking the time, or the man's taking the time to put in like a well thought out response to a question that you've asked. And then they respond with one word. It literally stops the entire conversation. And you're like, what are you waiting for me? Like, do you want me to ask you a question? You have nothing to say about anything I just responded. I mean all of it.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think if you're asking them a question, I mean, I've engaged before, right? And then they've given me a response and I've been like, oh my God, that's so, I totally understand that. And they're like, right. But then I'm like, now, like, this is your cue, bro, to fucking ask me a question. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit here and interrogate you, but like, I find that often happens too, which is people want to blab about their shit, but then it's not reciprocal. They're not coming back and asking anything about me. So then I'm like, what are we doing? And then on top of it, sometimes I'm like, is this just a fucking therapy session? Because we just talked about your past traumas and your life shit and you didn't even ask me for coffee. So what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. Do you unmatch?
I mean, I left them. There's a couple that are just in there that have done that. I probably need to go weed through some of that. I just get disinterested because I'm like, with the one word response after that, where I'm like, dude, I totally get that. Yeah. With a smiley. And then I'm like,
by the way, for those of you that have been like listening to us from the beginning, who just recently rematched with you?
Creston. I don't know if anyone remembers Creston. Oh my God. If you don't, I'm gonna put in the comments.
Yeah, we'll link the previous episode
about Creston.
Yes. But he just rematched with you.
Yeah, how he managed. Quick synopsis on one of our past pods came on to say that we were old and
TikTok. Yeah.
On TikTok, like, who are you? You guys are old, this and that. And then I go on Bumble and he's trying to match me. I'm like, dude, you just insulted us on our podcast like 2 days ago. And he was like, he tried to play it off. But yes, once again, prime example. I pretty much told him off. And then here we are and he's matching with me again. What the? Like, what? There needs to be a fly on the wall of like what goes on in this world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that kind of sums up. Those are the main pointers I think we'd give, right? If you're
and it goes on both sides. Because I feel like women are just as bad as men from what we hear. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook.
All the
audios. I mean, we're everywhere. Yeah. So thanks.
Thank you.